you have huge numbers, majorities of Americans, big majorities of Democrats saying ceasefire now, restrict arms to Israel. And that is not reflected in Congress at all. That is not, there's polling out this week about how unpopular the war in Gaza is. I think it's only got a 32% approval rate amongst the American public. In Congress, it's got a 90% approval rate. So how do you explain that disconnect? That 90% of legislators support something that only 30% of Americans do. At what point does that become intolerable? At what point do people wake up and say, we're just not represented here by the people in power? There's such a massive disconnect.
Right. It's a consent to the governed.
And that's on the Republican side too, by the way, John. You're seeing Republicans under the age of 50 rapidly turning on Israel.
But the dynamic that you're talking about the consent of the governed, is also, though, what drove these right-wing populist movements. The only difference is it's not Gaza, it's immigration or migration. And as you're seeing that take over in the world, these are the competing things. We keep thinking about, like I think all the time about 90% of the people in this country believe sensible gun restrictions are a necessity to keep us from, every time you hear a pop, running out of malls.
Not reflected in Congress.
All of those things that people want, but it doesn't seem to hold the power that loss of national identity seems to be holding around the world. There's, no matter what issue you want to pick on and where the public sentiment is and where the polling is, it all pales into the comparison to the feeling of, we're going to lose our Americanness. We're going to lose our...
Yeah. It is a very powerful trend.
And you saw it, not to wrap it back around to Jubilee, but that's what you faced down that day.
Well, I'm glad you brought it back to Jubilee, because I was about to bring it back to Jubilee. What was interesting was not just the power of that identity and obsession. They didn't want to debate anything but immigration. They didn't care about any of my other claims. They only came to talk about immigration. But what was interesting is I had a claim on Gaza. I said, Trump's plan for Gaza is ethnic cleansing. A lot of those white supremacists refused to come up and debate me on that. Why? Because they're anti-Israel. And they're not anti-Israel because they care about the Palestinian people. They're anti-Israel because of the people in Israel. Right? There's a massive anti-Semitic streak on the right.
Sure. I have Twitter. I'm aware of the massive anti-Semitic streak.
But what's interesting is how it's being mainstreamed through Gaza. And this is why I say to Jewish friends of mine who are supporters of Israel, be careful of the alliances you make. The folks on the right, a lot of them are using the same MAGA, America First, national identity argument to actually try and disconnect from Israel. And a lot of people on the left are like, great, isn't it great that Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these folks are on our side now? And I'm like, I'm not sure I want them on our side, because they're not on our side for the same reasons. Like,
that's right.
We're on our side because we care about Palestinian human rights and dignity and self-determination, not because we're anti-Jewish or anti-Semitic.